Hey guys, Captain C.A. Richardson here from Flats Class YouTube, and I'm just coming home from my trip from Jacksonville. That's right, we were filming television out there and had an incredible trip with Ed Kabler, one of the Mirrolure pro staffers. This guy's not a guide. He's a super passionate fisherman, has a huge reputation in Northeast Florida for catching giant trout. In fact, I caught a 7-pounder while I was there. Also caught a snook. Believe it or not, I caught a snook in Jacksonville, Florida. But we jumped tarpon, we jumped everything on this fish. Redfish, flounder, mangrove snapper. The list is shorter what we didn't catch than what we did catch on this simple little bait. So I'm gonna go down to the shop and start working on the rod setup that we were throwing to have all this success. And I want you to check out this video of Ed fighting a tarpon on this little plug that has like size 4, size 3 treble hooks on it. I'll be right back. Enjoy in the meantime. Episode of Flats Class YouTube is brought to you by Aquatraction, your go-to solution for advanced marine flooring. Gotta love that. On a lip. That thing was got like size 4 hooks. Looks like he's gonna come up. He's either gonna roll or jump.
Yeah, here he comes. St. John's River tarpon. It's the right size fish. If you have them in the right spot, we might be able to land them. It's gonna be your turn to lift.
Wait till you see the actual episode. Phenomenal. It's going to be titled Rocks and Docks because we're fishing a lot of chunk rock, or what you guys might call riprap. Lots of docks, substantial docks, some with concrete, some docks that had just giant, massive piling systems because the river runs so hard there. You're having several feet of water moving up and down the river all day long. But to fish in a zone like Jacksonville where you have all the port activity, you have the Navy running up and down with boats, you have security boats, Coast Guard boats. I mean, it's rough. I mean, you gotta be prepared to really power fish. And that's what I'm getting at. This little bait here dives 3 to 5 feet. It's a suspending lip plug. And the way we were working the plug, if we threw up on top of the rocks when the water was high, because those rock jetties kind of cascade off the edge. So there's rocks that go down that you can't see. Now, if you're using light enough line and you can make a long cast, you can get this bait, instead of running 3 to 5, you can get this thing running like 4 foot to like 7, 8 foot sometimes with a long, super long cast and thin braid. So we're making really long casts up on top of the rocks, and you'll notice in the episode when it actually airs, which probably will be about 2 or 3 weeks on Waypoint TV and Bali Sports Florida, we would roll the bait with the rod tip up, roll it so it would dive, and rip it a few times just to make it get down. The cool part about this bait, and I'll pull it out here because the actual one that we used is this one right here, so you can get a little bit better look at this bait. So it's got really I'm gonna say size 3 trebles on it instead of size 4, but I mean, they're small. Wicked little bait, you can see the lip there. But the way this thing operates is it kind of just rattles down like that and then backs off because it floats, and then rattles down like that and then backs off again. It's that rip, and then float back up, that's when the trout hit it. And we were using the rod tip in an upward fashion when we were throwing tight to the rocks. But when we wanted to get it deep and threw it off the rocks or behind the docks, we would rip it down as fast as we can, really quick, to get it down to depth, and then let it float just a little bit and then rip it 2 hard times again. And I mean, this thing was amazing. We were catching redfish, mangrove snapper, flounder, because we were getting all the way to the bottom in some of these spots. Like I said, I actually caught a snook in Jacksonville, believe it or not. We caught lots of trout, and their trout are heavy duty trout. I'm calling them HD trout. Wait till you see it. In fact, you can see some of it because I'm going to post a few JPEGs right here while I'm talking, and you guys can look at some of these trout that we were catching while we were fishing there in Jacksonville. So take a look at these. Pretty impressive, huh? I mean, some big fish. Go ahead, drool. I know I was. But then we caught some oversized reds with this plug. So this is a very versatile plug. Now, it's a little harder to use on shallow grass flats. It's not what I would choose, but if you're working grass flats, let's just say from 4 foot to 8 foot deep in the summer, this is gonna be a great little bait to catch trout on those deeper grass flats. If you're working around passes and inlets, and some deeper docks and some residential canals, this is gonna be a snook killer. And because of that, I like to tie about 3 feet of 30-pound fluorocarbon. Now, in the show, we were using a lot of 25-pound fluorocarbon to get the bait down. But when I'm fishing for snook or fishing around my waters where snook are more prevalent, I definitely use 30 to start with. It doesn't diminish the action at all. Now, these plugs come standard with a split ring, but I took it off to opt for the Mirrolure loop knot. I find the Mirrolure loop knot does a really good job. And according to Ed, it gives the bait a hell of a lot more action than you do with that split ring where you'd make a direct connect. Take the split ring off, tie the Mirrolure knot. That comes from the pro, Ed Kabler. I didn't do anything to improve in this show, and we jumped tarpon and we caught some oversized reds, but you could increase the weight of those split rings holding these hooks on and make this an even tougher snook bait if you really wanted to. Now, the rods we were throwing in the show were, for this particular lure, were a little lighter. This is more of a medium action with an extra fast tip. So I've got enough tip on here so that I can get a good hook set after the fish loads the rod up. And I put the 4000 Vanford on mine. I only did that because I wanted to be able to take line up, and I expected to catch big redfish, so I wanted a bigger spool, a lot bigger drag system. And this is nice and light. We were making some super long casts. This is the X Pride rod. I wasn't using one of my Terramars. I like the weight of this rod. It's I think this is a 6 to 12 pound rod, but it really fishes like an 8 to 17 pound rod in the X Pride series. It's a super light setup. And for me, for this particular plug, it made it effortless to make those super, super long casts that you really need to get the bait down to depth, because we fished a lot of water from about 3 foot probably all the way up to 12 feet deep. But our main deal was making contact with the rocks with this bait. You want this thing to bounce all over those rocks. And when you get that contact and you're working that plug and you're getting a really good rhythm in it, you'd be surprised how many fish you can catch on the L30. The Mirrolure L30. I would have never guessed how effective it truly was. I'm excited about it, and I can't wait to try it on some of the deeper rocks around here near Crystal River and the Nature Coast, but I got a feeling Mr. Gag Grouper is gonna take it away from me. All right, if you like what you're seeing here on Flats Class YouTube, come on, guys, give me that thumbs up and hit that notification bell. It's my job to try to make you guys better fishermen, better anglers. I want you guys to go out there and have a good time. Don't waste time not catching fish. Watch Flats Class YouTube. We're giving you fishing tips that work and catch fish. Until next time, Captain C.A. signing off.